I close my eyes and colors fly. There's no hiding from your grace. I can't deny your heart from mine, and it's unreal and same chase. I was on the edge of deception, caught up in my own hesitation, until your love took over me. Whoa. So I let go and I let love show me life like it's supposed to be. An oasis, here awaits us, all the freedom I'll ever need. Now I'm alive. Oh la la, oh la la, and I let go and I found life. Oh la la, oh la la, and I let go and I found life. Come on, everybody, we're gonna give it some praise today. La 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 la, and I let go.
The highway is calling me to a life unlike before. The Father's heart is beckoning, and I can't resist no more. Lead me in the ways of devotion, don't caught in the motions. My heart is only for you, Lord.
Okay, get those hands up. We're gonna wake this day up. So I let go and I let love show me life like it's supposed to be. An oasis, here awaits us, all the freedom I'll ever need. Now I'm alive. All right, no feet on the ground. We're gonna get up. We're gonna shake it off. You guys ready? When I let go, here we go, and I'm alive. When I let go, oh la la, oh la la. When I let go, then I find life. Oh la la. Oh la la, when I let go, then I find life. Give him some praise. Come on, get those hands together. When I felt the weight of grief, you raised me to relief. I'm forever grateful. While I was still asleep, were singing over me a fight song for my sorrow. You give me joy, oh, you give me joy. Everlasting, everlasting, you give me joy. Yeah. Everlasting, everlasting joy. Now I have eyes to see. You've always been with me. You're forever faithful. In every heartache, in every heartache in my life is filling up with light from the past into tomorrow. Oh, 'cause you give me joy, everlasting, everlasting. You give me joy, everlasting, everlasting joy. Yeah, everlasting joy. That's what you do. When I was on my knees, when I was on my knees, you brought me to my feet. I'm dancing, dancing victory. 'Cause you're my God, I can shout it out. I'm dancing, dancing victory. When I was on my knees, you brought me to my feet. I'm dancing, dancing victory. 'Cause you're my God, I can shout it out. I'm dancing, dancing. Come on, sing it out. When I was on my knees, brought me to my feet. I'm dancing, dancing victory. 'Cause you're my God, I can shout it out. I'm dancing, dancing victory. When I was on my knees, brought me to my feet. I'm dancing, dancing victory. 'Cause you're my God, I can shout it out. I'm dancing, dancing victory. Come on. Dancing victory. Oh, because you're good, you're kind, you're generous. Oh, you give me joy. Everlasting, everlasting. You give me joy. Everlasting, everlasting. You give me joy. Everlasting, everlasting. God, you're here for us. You're our way maker.
You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, That is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, you're healing every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, you're turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, commanding every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Yeah, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 That is who you are.
Come on, sing it out. Sing with all you got. Oh, because you are the waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are.
Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop, you never stop. Oh, even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 That is who you
Okay, because in 2020 we keep
Gosh, I mean, how much more can we take, right? You know, we've had COVID and riots and hurricanes and pestilence and disease and famine and war. But then in this you go, where's God, right? And then I was just sitting here singing this, and it said that even when I don't see it, you're working, right? And it made me think of when they crucified Jesus, it looked like it was over, right? You know, on Saturday, they were hiding out because they thought it was done, and they didn't know that even when it didn't look like it, he was working. You know, even when it looked like God had lost, he was working. And so we have to come into this attitude that doesn't matter what 2020 looks like. Even when we don't see it, and even when we don't feel it, he's working. And some of you are like enduring, you know, you've been hanging on. You've been sick, there's something with your finances because of COVID or whatever it is, and you're just like, oh, when are we gonna get through this? And now it's a hurricane. And I just feel like we need to sing that bridge again, or whatever it is a bridge or a chorus. And I think if you have that attitude, like I'm just trying to hang on, that maybe you need to just really sing it like you mean it, that even when I don't see it, even if you don't believe it yet, sometimes when you say it, it causes your heart to believe it. That's what faith says. The Bible says that faith comes by hearing, and sometimes it comes by hearing yourself say it. And so maybe we need to go back and just sing this and say, even when I don't see it, you're working. You never stop. He never stops. He's faithful even when it looks like your dream is dead, like Jesus was in the grave. It looks like it's dead. God is moving. So can we sing this again? But come on, give us some passion, Quinn.
Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop.
Sing that again.
Stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop.
Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keep, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Oh, sing it again. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keep, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Oh, sing it till you believe it, yeah. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keep, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Oh, I'm leaning in. Waymaker, miracle worker,
Promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are.
we believe it. We believe it. Sometimes we just gotta sing it. We gotta say it so it gets deep in our hearts and our minds that it's the truth. Because Lord, those of us who know you know it's the truth. And if anybody walked in here struggling because they want to make sure, they want to know that you're all the things that you say you are, we just pray that they leave here today knowing. And even though the circumstances might not change, that you give them this overwhelming peace, this overwhelming joy that confirms it as they work through the circumstances with you. So we thank you. Jesus, we thank you. Our hearts are grateful. We love you so much. In your name, amen and amen. All right. Come on, you can do better than that. Amen, amen, yeah. All right, why don't you go ahead and fist bump somebody, say hi, have a seat, and check out what's coming next.
Well, good morning. How's everybody doing? What an incredible morning at Shoreline. Welcome. My name is Darlene, and I'm super pumped to be with you this morning. I'm a little bit bummed that I'm not out at Crab Island because I really love that location. I do love it in here as well, but boy, when I can get out on the water and just worship God with people, it's just, good times. We had a great time last week. I don't think we're meeting at AJ's either because I think the weather's not good. Is the weather still not good out there? Is it like, it's kind of yuck? Well, you know what? It's awesome in here. I mean, it is awesome in here. I was so encouraged when Eric came up and spoke for a minute because I was just thinking about how none of us had any idea what 2020 was going to look like. And Eric and I not bought a house, but we moved into a new house at the end of 2021. And I remember moving into this house thinking, at the end of 2019, sorry. Boy, I'm way ahead of myself. My words are always much faster, right? So anyway, we moved into this house at the end of last year, not knowing, but I knew that something was coming. I just knew it. Like, we would not have gone into this specific house had I didn't have this peace from God, knowing that God was going to do something. And boy, I'll tell you what, we've been able to use our home in so many great ways. Like, we've had ministers come all summer, like pastors' families come when they were worn out trying to figure out what to do with all this COVID stuff. Anyway, all that to say, God is always working. And we don't always see it, and it looks really weird, but all I can say is I'm so looking forward to next year when we're all having great conversation about the things that we did not know were actually happening during this season. So I hope that there's an expectancy today about what God is actually doing in our lives, even when it might feel dull or terrible. Maybe it feels great, but you have no idea what's going on. He knows what's going on. There is a plan. So I just want to encourage you guys. What a great morning to be together, and just, man, super encouraged to be with all of you guys. You know, our church, the vision of our church is to bring Jesus and his church to the front and center of everyday life. What does that mean? Well, it means as the church, that just means those of us who represent who he is. Those of us who are Christ followers, it means that we actually make an impact in the world in our everyday life. And so what I hope that happens for you today while you're here is that you walk away with something that you can use in your everyday life that begins to change your life, it begins to change your family's life, and it changes the lives around you that you get to impact. Is it not so cool that we get to do this? This is amazing that we get to be a part of what God is doing in our community. Now, if you have a child in here and a little one, I just want to let you know we do have a parent room. So if that would make you more comfortable, our host team, could you guys wave your hands, host team? Yeah, there you are in the back. Awesome. If you want to check out our parent room with your child, you can go in there with them, and the service is live streamed, so they can help you out. If you want to follow them out, they're happy to help you. Also, if this is your first time here, we would love to be connected with you. There is a Connect card that's on the back of your chair. And if you fill that out, you can put a prayer request. You can just let us know who invited you, whatever you want to let us know. One of our team members will get back with you and just to say hello. We're so glad that you came. But also those of you who are regulars, please use that for prayer requests. Our team prays every single week with you guys, for you guys. And so all you have to do is fill the card out, put it on the buckets that are either going to pass by later or they're on your tables. Now, we have some really special guests here today, and they're my friends from Southeast Asia. I'm not going to say a whole lot more about that just because I want to protect them and I want to protect their ministry, but they're my good friends, Claire and Ado. Why don't you guys come on up? Yes. You got a mic. Okay. So here's the thing. My daughter went to Southeast Asia a long time ago, her junior year, her summer of her junior year. And this is where she met you guys. And from there, she ended up having just such a passion for this area that she decided to come back the next summer because we met. That's really kind of how we got connected, isn't it? Right?
Yeah,
okay.
correct.
Yeah. So we've been in relationship for, 15 years?
Yeah, a long time.
A long time.
So special.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what's happened maybe in those 15 years and what you guys have been up to?
Yeah, well, for us it started when I moved to Southeast Asia 20 years ago. I saw incredible need amongst the community there. There was huge spiritual need. We were working in amongst unreached Hindu and Islamic people groups. So there's a lot of people who didn't know Jesus. But there was also a lot of physical need, a lot of poverty, a lot of social, economic issues, drug and alcohol abuse amongst young people. And we wanted to make an impact in the community. So what we did, we built a community youth centre and a place where young kids could come, and we built an indoor skate park. So kids could come and skate, they could come and learn English, they could come and learn computer skills. But most importantly, it gave us a platform for our team to build close proximity, to develop friendships, and through those relationships, point people to Jesus. So through this youth centre, that was where Michaela came.
Yeah.
And when she saw it, she's like, oh, my parents would love this ministry. And not long after that, we met Darlene and Eric and just heard their vision for Destin. And we realised we shared the same passion of seeing people come and to know and follow Jesus and to make an impact for our community. And so over these years, we've been running this community youth centre where many people have heard about God's love for them. We've seen people come to faith. We've been able to really make an impact amongst the local youth community in that area. But we've also seen our ministry develop into other parts of the country. And we now oversee a team of 6 teams. And they're all using different platforms to see lives transformed. And what our vision has been from the very beginning is to see a gospel movement take place where disciples are making disciples. And our passion and our focus has been equipping and developing local leaders from that country who can develop more people and really see the gospel change lives.
I was just going to say, one of the things I love about what they do is just so happens the area that they're in, and even the reason that Michaela went in the first place was because your focus was on surfing communities. And that was one of the things that really hit us, just knowing that life is a little bit different in a coastal community for young people. And it's so weird how, I feel like what happens over there is mirrored over here. Even the fact that one of the areas, like where the youth center is, where we're hoping to do some work, is based on tourism. Yeah. So the young people are dealing with a lot of the same things. So we had talked about kind of moving forward and what a plan was going to be to kind of ramp up the youth center into this next season, right? And you maybe doing some coaching with the young people. What kind of things were you guys going to do there as that changed?
During COVID, it's sort of like what's happened here in Destin is because so much of the income is based on tourism there, they've been hit pretty hard. But despite that, we've seen growth. We've seen people come to faith. We've seen new relationships form, and now the youth center is back open. And we were really excited. 2 years ago, Brooke and Darlene came to visit to talk about what's next. How can we expand so we can see more impact in our community, also make it new? We've had the place for more than 10 years now, and we loved what happened to your building, to your church here, and we thought, we want that too. So now we're running these mentoring programs out of the center and different classes out of the center that really impact the youth and not just help them grow spiritually, but have life skills, also emotional healing just from trauma they've had in past because of broken homes or the brokenness in their culture. So we're super excited that's growing, and we're really hoping that next year, hopefully with Shoreline, we can partner together to see some of the renovations and the newness happen in the center.
Yeah, so if you have been a part of Shoreline for a while, you know that was one of our initiatives at the beginning of the year. And then COVID happened. And there's just been some transition for them, and there's been transition for us. But what was exciting is that we knew they were coming to visit. And so last night, we brought Brooke over to the house. And she started to talk about design. I didn't even realize, we went there 2 years ago. She has completely already redesigned the youth center. Can you just talk a little bit about that? What was that like last night?
So exciting. Honestly, this morning I woke up overwhelmed, but in such an exciting way. It almost makes me want to cry, honestly. So the plans that Brooke have drawn up are just amazing. And actually, last night, we actually made some steps forward in saying, okay, in the next 3 months, we're going to do this. There's a lot of preparation that has to happen before we can come tear down the walls and before we can put the paint on. So we're just, Yeah, I'm trusting and knowing that next 6 months, that's what we're going to be doing. Just preparing and following through with those preparation plans to see those plans
Yeah.
for fulfillment.
Yeah, and what I think is exciting is we're gonna be talking more about that over the next couple of months. But I want to let you know that there is opportunity for some of you, maybe even in this room, to not only support by prayer and finances, but to actually go, especially those that are skilled in specific areas. So you know what? I mean, it could change your life to get an opportunity to go be a part of something exciting like that. Can we give them a hand because we love them so much and it's so excited
Can I just say
that they're here? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just would like to give you guys a big shout out for your and say thanks for your partnership. Shoreline has been partnering with us for about 13 years, and not only have you been able to help with our ministry and the youth centre, but you've partnered with Claire and I personally, and we're just deeply thankful for your support. Some of you support us, and the church has been a wonderful support. Darlene and Eric have been fantastic in journeying with us, and we're just excited in what the future holds, that God is moving. He's moving in the country that we serve, and we anticipate great things for the kingdom of God there. So thanks for partnering with us.
That's awesome. And if you guys want to have any conversation with them, they're going to be over in the care booth over there right after the service. So if you want to find out more about their mission or ways that you can support them, they would love to have a chat with you. Thanks so much, guys. Love
Thank
ya.
you.
Love ya.
Thank you.
Whew. Awesome. So we have been in this series, Be Excellent, based around Bill and Ted. Does anybody have any 90s clothes on? You do. You kind of look it. You got it going on. Okay, here's a cool thing. We have a great subject today. And you've kind of heard a little bit of the theme going on so far. But Quinn has an EP coming out on Friday. Quinn Irwin. And this is some of his original music, and we're gonna just open up the service this morning, or the message this morning, with one of his songs. I'm gonna let him introduce it because it comes straight from your heart. All right?
All right. I'm gonna try to do this and play at the same time. Is that cool? Is that cool? Okay. All right, cool. So it's funny, writing songs, and they have like a timing. Like there's a time to put them out, and there's a time to hold on to them. And I thought I was gonna put this stuff out a year ago, but there were some delays that made it a little frustrating. But it's really profound that a song like this, which is called A Joy Deeper, is coming out right now. It's a song about struggle. It's a song, search for truth, search for compassion in the middle of the rough stuff. And something I've learned along the way is that the depth of my grief is the depth of my joy. Some of us are really good at grief, and so we need to learn a little bit more about joy. And then some of us are great at joy, and we need to learn a little bit more about grief. And so this is what this is what this song is about. How much more can I take? Been waiting on the sky to break. Been waiting so long to see mountains fall. Life waiting on me, but as far as I can see, I was born to run, not born to crawl. Sister wisdom, I'm listening. My lips are pursed, I'm kissing. God, give me a hand, I know I'll keep her. 'Cause I need a joy deeper. I need a joy deeper. Well, free my soul and I'll shed this skin. No more fear, I'll be waiting in a joy deeper. joy deeper. I need a joy deeper. I need a joy deeper, deeper. Breathe my soul, shed your skin. I'll be waiting. Joy deeper, deeper, joy deeper. Oh, I need a joy deeper, deeper. Free my soul and I'll shed this skin. No more fear, I'll be waiting. Joy deeper, deeper, joy deeper. Oh, I need a joy.
So, how do we get that album? Do we go to Camelot Music in the mall and buy the record?
You probably could go to Camelot Music in the mall if
Anybody remember Camelot,
Camelot
Music?
Music and malls were around still.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good job, band. Can we give them another hand? And because of Hurricane Sally, that's just not the right name for a hurricane, is it? It just sounds like it shouldn't have done anything, right? Sally came in and destroyed us. Sounds like a passive-aggressive hurricane, doesn't it? Anyway, because of that, we actually have our online campus watching live for the first time since COVID, probably. So can we just give it up? Pastor A.G. is your commentator on there. He's your moderator, I guess you call it. And I know it's crowded in here because of all our other venues have been canceled because of the weather. But I just want to point out we got a couple of booths still open over here. And I think there's some seating. Well, we got the couch over there, someone on the couch. But is anybody in that room back there? A couple people. So there's some seating up there if you need some seating. Just sorry about the crowd. We just didn't expect all of this. Claire and Ado, we love you guys. Really love their ministry over there. Maybe one day you get a chance to go there. They have I can't tell you where it is because this is live, and so we have to protect their identity. And this will actually self-destruct after 5 seconds. But there's some great surfing there. So I'm going to leave it at that. And last time they were here, this place was a circus. I'm surprised they came back because we made her look, because anybody remember The Greatest Showman? And we had the ring out here and stuff, and they came, and she was the exotic dancer from Bali, and I made him be Crocodile Dundee with a big knife, and that's not a knife. I'm surprised they came back because he was so embarrassed. I was going to make him drink a Foster's because that's Australian for beer, right? They didn't even want to go to Outback. I don't understand it. Let's see. I just want to say, too, that I'm actually kind of nervous without Pastor Graham here next to me. Graham, where are you? Can I just see your face so I can? Okay, thanks. We've been preaching together all summer. I don't know if I can do this by myself. Okay. Thanks for the confidence, my friend. You know, it's funny if you did get a chance to go where they are. And anybody ever been on a short-term mission trip or been to an underdeveloped country? It's crazy when you go to one of these countries where they don't seem to have much. You've probably experienced this, but you can go to. I remember we went and did some ministry in Guatemala, and the people lived in the dump basically. And yet you see them, and they don't really have anything. Dirt floors, kind of tin roofs, just plywood walls. Yet they seem so happy. And you think how can they be so happy they don't have anything? And I'm there, and I just can't wait to get back to my stuff. And it's hard to understand how they can have, almost seems like they're more content, like they're happier, that they have joy. And in fact, ultimately, when you guys experience short-term mission trips, you'll find out that many times that people go on a short-term mission trip for 10 days, that it's actually more impacting on the people who go than it is the people they serve, isn't it? The missionaries are like, oh, great, I got to put up 15 people in my house today, But the people who go are actually more impacted because you get there and you find people that don't have things, and yet they seem to have more contentment, and and meanwhile, we can't wait to get back to our stuff. And so it's actually good to go to a place like this because it makes you question what's really important. And so, as Darlene said, last week we started this series called Be Excellent. It's called Be Excellent. Be excellent. Okay, there we go. Loosely inspired on Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And we thought it would be fun to look at what it would take to be excellent, because there's a difference between doing and being. You know that, right? In fact, if you grew up in church, you might have heard this cheesy saying, we're human beings, not human doings, right? So when it comes to being excellence, we want it to come from within us. It's an outworking of what's inside us. But the truth is, if you want to be something, you have to do something. You know, my wife is a life coach, and she's always trying to you don't know what it's like to live with a life coach. She says it's impossible to live with me. You should try living with her, because she tries to use those life coaching mind tricks on you. Oh, and what do you think that'll get you, Eric? I know what you're doing here, okay? But in her life coaching, what she'll do if you sit down with her, she'll sit down and she'll ask you what kind of person that you want to be. Who is it that you want to become? And then once you decide or figure out what it is that you want to be, then you have to figure out what it is that you need to do in order to become. So there is some doing in order to become. Now, last week, Pastor Graham started this series out by saying that ultimately when we surrender our will to God, we're made into a new creation. That it's not about adopting things to do to become a better person, okay? It's about allowing God to be inside you who He originally created you to be. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at something that is so counterintuitive as it relates to being, that if you've not experienced what I'm talking about, you're going to think I'm crazy, okay? Because you're not going to believe it. Because it's so counterintuitive, it's so illogical, it doesn't make sense. In fact, you're going to think that I think Eric's run out of things to talk about, okay? Because it's so irrational, but it shows you just how naive we are when it comes to this idea of being. Now, the bottom line is, and so if you have to leave early for some reason, or you're just watching online, you got to connect out, let me just kind of give you the big idea right now. Here's what we're going to talk about, and that's this. As long as you're all about no, this isn't the right one. That's it. As long as you're all about you, you will not have joy. That's what the theme that you've been seeing. As long as your life consists of everything as focused about yourself, you'll not have joy. Now, I will go as far to say this, though, and then we can put up the next one. As long as you're all about you, you won't even be happy. Now, for many of us, that sounds like the same thing, right? It sounds very similar, but they're actually two different things, because happiness is more of a temporal thing. It's more of a feeling. You know, I feel happy based on what's happening around me. You know, if I'm with the one I love, if I'm with the right person, I'm driving the right car, I'm doing the things that I want to do, I live where I want to live, okay? All of those things, that create this feeling of happiness. So it's temporal. But when I don't have those things, then I don't feel happy, okay? And the other thing about happiness is it's also, most of those things are appetites. And appetites are never satisfied. How many ate breakfast this morning? A lot of us ate breakfast. Guess what? You're going to be hungry again. Appetites, that's the nature of an appetite. An appetite is never satisfied. Maybe temporarily you might have got full last night, but today you want to eat again. That's the nature of an appetite. When you feed an appetite, it grows. But see, joy is different. Joy comes from the inside. Joy is not based on outward circumstances or feelings. That's why you can go to another country, an underdeveloped country, and find someone who has nothing, but yet they seem to have contentment and a sense of joy. That's why you can go to Pensacola and find someone whose house was ripped off their roof, but they still have joy, because it comes from the inside. It's not based on your circumstances or what's going on around you. So for the sake of this talk, this is going to be our working definition of joy. This is it right here. Joy is the gladness we experience through our relationship with God and through the good gifts He gives us. So joy is the gladness, okay, that we experience because we have a relationship with God, and there's something that relationship brings that gives us joy, and we rejoice in the good gifts. There's nothing wrong with having things, but we rejoice because it comes from God. Now, this was God's original design for mankind. He created us to experience and to thrive in joy. But because we come from a broken line, what happened with Adam and Eve, we are broken. We mistakenly pursue things that we think are going to make us happy, thinking that if we can achieve them, if that we can get them, that we're going to have joy. But the truth is, when life is only about you, you won't be happy no matter what you have. Sorry. You can't be happy, because here's what this means, is you cannot fulfill you. You need more than you have to offer. Because if you were able to get yourself exactly the way you want yourself, if you were the right size and drove the right car and lived in the right neighborhood and had the right income, you still would not be enough for yourself. It still would not satisfy you. You still would not have joy. See, this is counterintuitive, though. Because we naturally think that if we can achieve the things that we want, that if we can have certain things, that if we can attain certain wealth, that we can live a certain way, then we will have joy. Now, the truth is, most of us deep down inside, we know that. If we were truthful, we know that that's not true. All of us in here would say it's not about what you own that brings joy, but it never stops us from trying. So the truth is, you cannot acquire or consume or exercise your way into joy. It is impossible. But here's the tricky part, and this is why it's so tricky, this is why it's so deceitful, is we look at what other people have, we look at what they look like, we look at what they've attained, and we tell ourselves, man, if I could just live that way, if I could just acquire that, if I could just live in that neighborhood, if I could just make that kind of money, I would be happy, I would have joy. And the truth is, it's not true. In fact, as strange as it may sound, one of the best things you can do for you is to quit doing for you. One of the best things you can do for your family is to do something for someone else's family. One of the best ways for you to be filled up is actually, and this is why it's counterintuitive, pour yourself out. And it's counterintuitive because inside there's something in us that says, how can that be? Eric, how can that make me fulfilled? How can helping other people actually give me joy? Well, there's two little words, these words right here, divine design. This is how you were created. God created you to live a life of open hands. God created you to live a life of open hands for other people. And when you do, you're actually happier, you're healthier, you thrive. See, we were designed to one another, other people in the Bible. You know what I'm talking about? When the Bible talks about caring for one another, preferring one another, serve one another. See, we were actually designed to one another. We're happier when we one another. Now, here's the hard part, though, is selfishness. We don't have to practice selfishness. We don't have to learn how to be selfish, do you? Anyone teach their 2-year-old how to be selfish? Anyone teach your kid to go, when you get to school, grab the toy and go, mine! Right? It comes natural. That is our default setting. Selfishness is my default setting. I continue to fight it today. But yet it was not part of the divine design. It was a result of the brokenness that entered mankind when Adam and Eve sinned. But the truth is, if you want to find real joy, you got to find a way to give yourself away. Because without that, you will never have joy. Even if you are the best you can possibly be, you will never have joy if it's all about you. In fact, think about this. Some of the most joyful people you know, and they don't have what you have. They don't have the money that you have. Maybe they don't have the looks that you have. You would never trade your life with them. You've thought about this, but you know there's something down inside that they have that you don't have. They have this sense of peace. Like, you would never trade your life with them. You have everything you want, but yet you seem to feel on edge. Your family tells you that you're always angry, that you're mad, that you're not satisfied, you're frustrated, you're unhappy. And you look at them, and deep down you know that they have found a way, even though they don't have what you have, to have joy that doesn't come from what they own or what they do. It comes from inside them. So how do you get that? What we're going to do today is we're going to look at a letter that Paul wrote to the church in Galatia. which we call the book of Galatians, written in the first century. Now, Paul uses a lot of theological words, but what I want to do is I want to drop down in the middle of a conversation or an observation that he makes between these two approaches to life, okay? And he uses a lot of Christian words, but he makes a list that he associates with these two types of life that we can pursue. And if you live long enough, you realize just how true what he's saying is, especially when you get into the latter part of your life and you can look and see what's important. You can look back and go, wow, okay, this really is some good stuff here. So we're going to be in Galatians chapter 5. And again, if you, I don't know if anybody said this, but you can download our app and you can follow along with this. Just give you a reminder to turn off your phone or turn it on silent if you would. Galatians chapter 5, verse 19. Here's what the Apostle Paul, he says, the acts of the flesh. Now, some of your versions, you might have grown up, call it the sinful nature. And what that is, that's when Adam and Eve sinned, we had this new nature. It was called the sinful nature. Paul calls it the acts of the flesh. What is that? That's when you can do whatever you want to do whenever you want to do it. I mean, this is the stuff that you would do. It would come naturally to you, and you would do it if you knew nobody would find out, if your wife wouldn't find out, or your kids wouldn't find out, if you could do whatever you wanted whenever you wanted to do it. This is what he calls the acts of the flesh, and then he lists them. He says they're obvious: sexual immorality, impurity, debauchery. We don't really use that word, debauchery. Anybody ever been put on restriction from your parents because you were in debauchery? Unless you go to McGuire's, I think it's there, imbibbery and debauchery. But debauchery is really where you get so drunk that you're out of control, okay? And then he keeps going. He says, idolatry and witchcraft, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissensions, factions and envy, drunkenness, orgies, and the like. Okay, so he lists these things that he calls the acts of the flesh or the lust of the flesh. And he says, this is what he's saying. This is the natural, go with the flow, your selfish, natural inclination. This is what it looks like, okay? That if you were to just do what comes natural, this is the stuff that would happen. Now, the thing about this list of what comes natural is that it's always at someone else's expenses. It's always at someone else's expense. The pleasure is always at someone else's expense. Whenever we give in to selfishness, it might be pleasure for you, but it's going to cost somebody else something, okay? Somebody else is going to pay the price, even if you don't get caught. Why? Because remember, all of these things are what we talked about earlier. They're appetites, okay? And as we said earlier, appetites are never satisfied. When you feed an appetite, it grows. The problem with an appetite is when you can't satisfy it, you get angry. You become an angry elf. You get irritable. You get frustrated and unhappy. And Paul says that's what happens when you give into the natural, into the flesh. Paul says if you give into this stuff long enough, it will become harder and harder to satisfy this appetite. But it's not going to stop you. You're going to keep trying and trying and trying. And in the end, you're going to want more and more and more. And these appetites can be anything. They can be stuff, possessions, power, love, sex, fame, position, any of those things, okay? He says, but you will never be satisfied. But in order to be satisfied, you try giving more and more yourself to those things, and ultimately you end up frustrated and unhappy. But then he says, but, verse 22, the fruit of the Spirit. Now, the fruit of the Spirit is the stuff that when you finally say to your Heavenly Father, listen, God, I am tired of doing this on my own. I've tried it. I am not satisfied. I have more money than I've ever made. I'm in better shape than I've ever been in, and I'm still not satisfied. I'm tired of doing it on my own. So today I'm going to put my faith and my trust in you. He says, then that's what he calls the fruit of the Spirit, okay? He says, then he lists these things in the fruit of the Spirit. What are these things? Let's see. Let's go to the notes. Fruit of the Spirit. He says the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So he says in this fruit of the Spirit, this is what is, when you decide to give your life to God, here's what happens, is that you exhibit this kind of fruit that becomes natural. And then I love this next verse. He says, and this is probably one of the most powerful verses in all of the New Testament. He says, against such things there is no law. Think about this. I think this is one of the richest statements that Paul has ever made. He says that when you put your trust in God, there's a natural occurrence, a fruit, he calls it, that just comes naturally in your life. And he lists them: love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Think about that kind of environment. What if your family was characterized by these things? What if where you worked? What if your neighborhood was characterized by love and joy? Let's just go back to your family. What if your family was characterized by peace and patience and joy and self-control? Do you think you would flourish in that kind of environment? Absolutely. Do you think you would be happier in that kind of environment? Absolutely. In fact, some of you are sitting here thinking, I wish my family was like that. I wish there was peace in my house. I wish there was patience at my house. I wish there was kindness. And the reason why you wish that is because that's the way you were designed. We were all designed to live in a community that was characterized by these characteristics. We were all, and here's the thing. Here's what I love about the scripture. He says, against such things there is no law. You know what that means? Is that when you live in a community that's characterized by these characteristics, you don't need rules. You don't need laws. You don't need any rules in your home when your home is characterized by these things. Imagine living in a community or a family or working in a place that was characterized by these things, by these characteristics where I'm in it for you and you're in it for me. I'm looking out for your best interests and you're looking out for my best interests. And guess what? There's nothing that we can't do. There's nothing that we can't get through. Imagine a community or a nation where you can sleep at night without stress or fear. Why? Because it's characterized by the fruit of the Spirit. Imagine how much happier you would be in your family or your community or a nation. How amazing that would be to be characterized by the fruit of the Spirit. Could someone get me, I've got a glass of water over there. Could you get me that glass of water over there, please, sitting on that thing? Now, let me see where I'm at. So, thank you. Here's how I know this. You want some more evidence of this? How do we measure the value of a life? How do we measure the value of a life? Let me put it this way. When you go to a funeral and somebody stands up and talks about the deceased, do they ever use these words right here? Immoral, impure, indulgent, hateful, jealous, angry, selfish, argumentative, envious, drunk. You'll never hear someone stand up at a funeral and go, yeah, Frank slept around with everybody. He was angry, especially when he was drunk, and he was so jealous all the time. He was such an inspiration to us all. You don't hear that, right? You know why you don't hear that? Because we don't value that. That doesn't have any value to us because those are pleasures at someone else's expenses. And guess what? People who operate like this, people who are characterized like this, they don't have joy. You know people like this, and they do not have real joy. And the people around them are not happy either. But yet every day, you and I, we are both tempted. We are all tempted to pursue things that we think will make us happy, but in the end, just leave us empty. And so selfishness is natural, but when we look at people that we respect and admire, when you look at people down through history, or maybe people in your own life that you look up to, what we look up to is not someone who exhibits those kind of behaviors, but it's the value of a life is measured by how much it's given away. We value lives. That's what we celebrate. Is we celebrate that people, when you go to a funeral, you don't celebrate someone who lived for themselves, you celebrate someone who lived for other people. Why? Because that's what we value. That's how we were created. We are drawn to that. And so if you want to have real joy, you have to figure out how to give your life away. And I don't mean twice a year when your job makes you, volunteer for United Way or Habitat for Humanity. I'm talking about where you systematically figure out how to live your life for other people, where you systematically figure out how to live your life and to give your life away. Just like you systematically exercise, just like you systematically look in the mirror, just like you have things that you do in your life on a regular basis that you have become disciplined at, we have to figure out a way to systematically give our life away. Now, here's the catch-22 of what we're talking about. We're talking about being excellent, right? Not so much doing, but being, right? But like I said earlier, when Darlene coaches you, she will take you through a series of exercises, and she'll ask you, what kind of person? Who is it that you want to be? And then she'll come up with this idea, and then you start to break it down. What do you need to do in order to be that person? I mean, think about it. If you wanted to become a person who was fit, then there's some things you're going to do. But you don't just do for the sake of doing. You do because you have a goal of being, right? Well, Pastor Graham said last week, and the Apostle Paul said it this week, that when you come to a place where you're tired of doing it on your own, when you come to a place where you've put your faith and your trust in what Christ has done, something happens on the inside of you, okay? And Paul says that you're a new person. That's what we talked about last week. That's what Graham talked about. But now Paul says, and the fruit of that new person are those things that we listed. That when you come to a place where you say, God, I can't do this on my own. I'm tired of pursuing these things that I think are going to make me happy. I'm tired of pursuing these things that I think are going to give me true joy. And instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give my life to you, put my trust in you. The Apostle Paul says you become a new person, and that new person has a fruit. And that fruit is those things that we listed: love, joy, patience, kindness, goodness, forbearance, self-control. Now, remember, fruit is an indicator of what something is. I used to have orange trees in my yard, and you know what they produced? Oranges. You know why they produced them? Because they were orange trees. The producing of the fruit didn't make them orange trees. They produced fruit because they were orange trees. When you put your trust in God, Paul says there's going to be a fruit in your life, okay? You're a new person, there's going to be a fruit in your life. But there are some things, this is the catch-22, that you have to do. And so what I want to do is I want to introduce a kind of a new way to look at it, if you will, kind of a new paradigm, okay? And now a paradigm is an assumption that we have mentally or emotionally that we base our decisions on. It's something that it's ingrained in us. It's so ingrained in us that we have this paradigm, and that's how we see things. For example, you know, we all have a paradigm that people don't float. I don't mean in the water. Obviously, I float better than a lot of you. I'm talking about in the air, okay? Nobody floats in the air. So if I told you to go look for Pastor Graham, hey, where's Pastor Graham? You wouldn't look up. Why? Because we have a paradigm that people don't float. They're not up in the air, so that my reaction is based on that decision. My decision is based on what I believe. One that's more closer to home, maybe your paradigm is that certain people groups are more dangerous than others. That's what we're experiencing right now in our society. So what happens is your decisions might be different than someone else's, the way you see it, because of your paradigm. And so what I want to do is I want to give you to something that can help change your paradigm so that you're becoming and you're not just doing, okay? Now, the thing about this is paradigms, it's not just a shift in your understanding. It's actually the difficult journey of relearning how to act, how to process, or how to make decisions based on this new way you see things. So I want to give you something that's so simple that it's actually embarrassing. It's so simple that I've taught it to children in children's church. But come on, isn't simple easier to remember? You know, some people go, well, your church isn't very deep. Yeah, I go to this church because they're a lot deeper. What they talk about, I don't remember. It was so deep, I don't remember. That doesn't do you any good, right? And if a child can remember what I'm about to tell you, that means you can walk out of this door and use it every day of your life to help begin to shape this paradigm so that you can have true joy, because who wants to walk around through the end of and get to the end of their life and realize the things that they pursued did not make them excellent, only made them frustrated, unhappy, and discontent. Okay? So here's this simple thing that because it's so simple, you're more likely to remember it, which means you're more likely to apply it. And it goes like this. Joy. You want to have real joy? Jesus, others, and you. If you want to have real joy, make Jesus first in your life. Come on, kids, let's say it together. I want joy. What's joy, kids? Jesus, others, and you. And you're like, some of you are thinking, that is so dumb, I'm leaving right now. No, it is so simple that you'll actually use it. Imagine if you ran everything through the lenses of these two things. Every decision that you make, your whole outlook in life determined by, first, I'm going to put Jesus first. Second, how does this affect others? And then third is me. Now, it doesn't mean you don't ever pursue your own things. It doesn't mean you ever, yeah, of course, you need a roof over your head, you need to drive a car, but you're just moving yourself to the end of the list. And when you move yourself to the end of the list, what you're going to find is real joy. But imagine if you could walk out of here today. In fact, that I want to challenge you. I thought about giving you some steps, and I thought about, giving you some practicalities. Here's what you do. But just take this and run everything through this, because here's what will happen. If you say, I want to be that person that has joy, I want to be that person that is excellent, here's the steps that Darlene would break it down. Put Jesus first. Put your spouse, your children, your neighbors to the west over in Pensacola, your neighbors who live next to you, the people at work, put them next, and then put you last. Because the value of a life is determined by how much is given away, not by how much you consume or how much you achieve. It's by how much you help others. Can you imagine how powerful, how impactful that would be in your family, how impactful that would be in your own life? Because not only would you would have, what would you have in your house? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, self-control. That your family would be characterized that, but you would actually have fulfillment in your life. This is the only way to be excellent. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we're so grateful for your word. We're grateful that, first of all, you sent your son, Jesus. That's the foundation that was laid for us last week, that when we put our trust and our faith in what Jesus has done, that we become a new person. That we don't have to strive to be something for you in order to win your good graces or to win your affections. That Jesus did that for us. And today we find out that there's a fruit that comes from that. That when we allow you to be first in our life, when we allow Jesus to be first, we allow you to grow, and the things that we do be led by you and influenced by you, that we can focus on others, that we can find true joy. Lord, we thank you that your promise is that you will never leave us and you will never forsake us, that we can walk through a year like 2020, that we can walk through pandemics and hurricanes and violence and yet still have the true joy of the Lord, because it doesn't come based on what we do. It comes based on what Jesus did. It comes from the inside. Lord, help us. We want to be better fathers. We want to be better moms and children. We want to be better employees and bosses because of the fruit of the Spirit, because that's who we are, that we can be excellent. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so Pastor Darlene's coming up here.
Hey, I really loved that you talked about divine design, because when you talk about serving other people and giving your life away, sometimes we're like, ugh, that's so hard. Or like you get these ideas of, like you said, the United Way or Habitat for Humanity, which are wonderful organizations, but sometimes those things don't fit us because it might not be the way God designed us. And so I think one of the things that you can do as you walk away today is start to think about, hey, what skills do I have? What interests do I have? I think about Jessica, was up here this morning leading worship. She's been in music her whole life. Well, she's using it for God now. She serves other people with it, because we're all in here on a Sunday morning and we get brought into the presence of God because she gets to use that gift. Brooke, who is one of our designers on staff here, she's working with Ado and Claire, using a skill that she has in order to help them to reach people in their community.
That's right.
It's not a difficult thing. So I want to let you know that there are so many different ways.
Yeah, 'cause
obviously, go ahead.
This is where we would be remiss if we don't tell you that we can provide that. This wasn't about this message. This was not
No.
an agenda to get you to serve in our church. but that's what it's about. It's about serving other people.
Yeah.
And so we can provide that for you to find an outlet for you to begin to place other people first in your life.
When we talk about the vision of our church being putting Jesus and his church into the front and center of everyday life, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, hey, what is it that God's given you? How has he gifted you? How has he created you to be? So that you can share that with the world, because it will make a difference. We've got people in here that are business people, and they make a difference in other business people's lives.
That's right.
You know, so I could go on and on and on. But what I want to do is I want to encourage you to think about that. And if you have any questions, if like maybe you're already thinking like Eric and I when we were younger and we first got involved in church, we loved teenagers. We had worked with teenagers on the beach here in Destin, and so that was something we loved. So we started serving in the teen ministry.
That's right.
So there's all different things that you can do. If you look over here, you'll see our community booths. There will be people in all of those booths in a little bit, and they're happy to talk with you and help you in any way that they can. You can fill out a connection card too if you don't want to talk to somebody face to face, although we do enjoy talking with people face to face.
Another way you could do this is the city of Destin. We've been working with them, talking with them. They've asked us for our help to remove debris on the beach, hurricane debris, docks and lumber and posts and pilings. They've actually been piling it up. So today, we have teams that are going to be meeting outside after church. We've got trucks and trailers. We've got permission to drive down the beach. And so to serve our community, we're actually going to go and clean the beaches of hurricane debris. And we have 2 more teams that are going to work in people's yards, removing trees and things like that. So if today, you know, last week, Graham said, what would keep you from getting baptized? I'm going to ask you, what will keep you from serving other people today? You have an opportunity to love your community. We're going to have 3 teams going out and doing things today, spend a couple hours cleaning up our beaches. Now, we've already started, and let me just tell you, Hurricane Sally threw a wrench into a lot of things, but what did not happen was as a church, did not hesitate to jump into action. If you know, and you've been around here long enough, you know we did that. We drove into Hurricane Harvey a few years ago. We helped with Hurricane Michael with the Church of Destin a couple years ago. Well, this week, we've already supplied over 150 gallons of fuel for a church over in Pensacola. The day after that, we took chainsaws and fuel and tarps over to the Pensacola Dream Center. Then yesterday, we had a team go over to Gulf Breeze, and they helped Coastline Calvary Chapel. Their church was completely flooded, and so we had a team go over there, and they ripped out carpets and drywall. And you want to hear how good God is? The people that we delivered the gasoline, yesterday they called me and said, can you get us some non-perishable and tarps and send them over with your team going to Gulf Breeze? And I said, well, we don't have any. I said, my team has already left to Gulf Breeze. This is yesterday morning. He said, it'll take me a couple days to get non-perishables. He says, that's fine if you can get them by the early part of the week. 5 minutes later, I get a text from this guy. He says, we've got a truckload of non-perishables. Can you guys use them? And I said, yes. And then I called South Bay Lumber. And they donated 20 tarps and all the nails. And so then I called this pastor back up and I go, I got your stuff. And they headed over there. So let me just say, as we get ready to receive the offering, we have already, if you don't know, if you've been watching social media, you've seen it. But if you don't know, we have already responded. We did not hesitate to respond. And so here's what I'm saying. When you give today, I want you to keep in mind what your giving has already done. Your giving has allowed us to give chainsaws and tarps and gasoline and all kinds of stuff, and we're not going to stop, okay? So as we get ready to receive the offering, I just want you to know a part of that is going for hurricane relief. If you'd like to give towards more hurricane relief, we have that as well. You can give towards that, and I guarantee what you designate will be given towards hurricane relief. So as we get ready to receive the offering, we are an irrational church. We love irrational generosity.
Yeah.
That's why we jump at the fact.
Yeah, we love irrational generosity so much that if you are an adult here today in significant need of food, shelter, or clothing, you have our permission when the offering is passed, when the buckets are passed, that if there's loose cash in there, that you can take that to help meet your need. So I guess
So as they receive the offering,
Yep.
Moses speaks a little quiet. He's a little quiet guy. He's going to tell us what's happening over in Pensacola and Gulf Breeze. So check that out while they're receiving the offering.
Hey everyone, I'm Moses from Shoreline Church. As you all know, the Gulf Coast has been impacted by Hurricane Sally, worst damage being in the Pensacola area and the coast of Alabama. There are hundreds of thousands of people that are still being impacted by Hurricane Sally. There are places that still don't even have power. We know that you all want to help out but might not know how, or just might not know the first step to start helping. First step is to download the Shoreline app. Once you have our app downloaded, open up our app and scroll down until you see the Events tab. Find Events, click on it, it'll take you to our website. Once you have a website pulled up, you'll see a Hurricane Sally Relief option. Click on Hurricane Sally Relief and register. Once you're registered, it allows our teams to get in contact with you to plug you into our teams that whether deliver goods, help with cleanup, or different aspects of the recovery process. Also, if you want to donate resources to our church for us to take to areas that are impacted, stay up to date with all of our social media accounts. As our teams get informed on what is needed, we will keep you all updated on all social media platforms. Again, thank you all for everything. I hope everyone's staying safe, and remember, love your neighbor.
Sorry, I must turn my mic off.
You want to use mine?
I think I got it. Moses just had Botox to his face when he did that, so
He's so sweet.
that's why he didn't have any emotion whatsoever.
Actually, he did have a lot of emotion because he's one of the people that's
That
been out
actually
helping.
was his emotion.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
he had just won the lottery, millions of dollars. Anyway, hey, listen.
do this with you.
Don't forget this Friday, Fly Fishing Film Festival, gonna be right here. It's $25. All the proceeds go to the Choctawhatchee Basin Alliance, which helps our waterways and keeps them, in shape the way we want them, so that we can enjoy it. You can buy tickets here in the marketplace, or you can go online and buy it. And we are also raffling off this
Look at
boat
that.
Lono kayak, okay?
Y'all, that's a
and
big
all
deal.
the proceeds, that's a cool kayak, all the proceeds go to Choctawhatchee Basin Alliance on that. They are $20 a ticket or $6 for $100. You can also get that in the market. And again, all the proceeds for that go to the Choctawhatchee Basin Alliance.
If you have any questions about the Fly Fishing Film Tour, Eric will help you over there. So,
Yep. God bless you guys. See you next week.
Have a great week.
And hopefully you'll come out and volunteer today. Clean up our community.
She is unique in every way.
She gets on that platform and she just fishes all day long.
Mary is one of the more entertaining guests we've had here.
I am a widow. I am a mom. I'm a grandma. Oh, and I'm a fly fisher woman.
Edit that one out.
I guide a wide range of guests, and she stands out.